Hey everyone, this is Greg Day and
Cam Elliott.
I'm a performance sports physiotherapist.
Performance coach and therapist.
So often we work together with our clients, and one of the things that we chat about is the three main components of every athletic endeavour, which are
High quality movement.
let's call that HQM. Applied against
High force.
over
Time.
a long period of time. Even in the short-based exercises like shot put or track sprinting, if your force deteriorates before you've completed the movement, then it's not as effective as somebody whose force doesn't deteriorate. So the strength and conditioning coaches are looking to enhance the ability to maintain that high force over a long period of time with high quality movement. And us therapists are trying to improve that so that this and this is much more efficient and safe. So knowing that these three underpin all elements of athletic performance, we're going to take a very complex subject and bring it down into a simple stream.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So we know that all athletic endeavours require high force and high quality movement over a long period of time. So if you think about it, the application of high force is strength.
Yep.
All right. Over a long period of time,
Endurance.
strength, endurance.
Sure.
Now, if you apply that high force quickly, that's called
Power.
over a long period of time.
Power endurance.
Okay. So high force applied quickly over a long period of time is what's called power endurance. High force that's not necessarily applied quickly over a long period of time is called
Strength endurance.
strength endurance. So both of these have high force, long time. High force, long time. The difference between the strength and the power is that power has got quickness. High force applied quickly, whereas that could be high force applied less quick. That's strength endurance. Now, what we're saying is, if you want to be in the game longer, the high quality movement allows you to be more efficient. So both of these should have high quality movement in them. So Cam, if we ask somebody to do those two, but not over a long period of time, for example, once, one repetition of high force is strength. Therefore, strength underpins strength endurance, simply because we took the long time part out. So what does that leave us with? If we take the long time out, we're left with
High force and high quality movement.
exactly. Underpinning power endurance,
Straight power.
straight power. If we take that part out of it, and we've just got high quality movement applied against high force quickly. Okay, you're with us still far? That's good. Now, if we remove which one of those, it's going to tell us a more fundamental level.
So if we backtrack from strength and power,
Yeah,
then we're looking at motor control.
sure.
No?
Because if we take away high force, all we're really now saying is, can you show us high quality movement, which is motor control? Sure. And both of those require control of motion, or motor control, which is the high quality movement that's left over. Now, to have control of motion, you have to have,
Mobility.
motion.
Let's swap.
Swap positions. So to have control of motion, you've got to have mobility. Together, these two is what we call function. The ability to have motion and to control it and demonstrate it. Once you add the load, we call that performance. Big P for performance under there. Now, what underpins that?
That would be health. The
Correct.
ability to access that mobility.
Yeah.
Healthfully.
Your body has got to have the absence of pain, toxins, chemicals, poisons, those kind of things. And so if we put back in here pain or the absence of pain, let's put a little zero pain there, and the absence of ill health, which is known as health, then what you've got is an organism which is in a good frame of mind to control the mobility that they have against high forces, either slow or quickly, and over a long period of time. And that makes our job easier, because all we're really doing is saying, where are you on this continuum? And let's apply an intervention at that point in time. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I like this system and the way that we present it, because fundamentally, both coaches and clinicians are the same coin, just on opposite sides, but in the middle of the coin is the client, and we want to drive the client's best interests forward, particularly if that client has athletic endeavours. But the strength coaches tend to look at the problems from this end of the field, and they'll say, well, this person has an inability to express strength over an extended period of time, they must have an endurance problem, or they are incapable of expressing strength objectively based on a metric that they're trying to achieve. They must have a strength problem without having the consideration of the motor control of what they've currently got in terms of mobility and whether or not that person is in pain or in ill health. Inversely, when we look at the power endurance and power aspects as well, so a lot of your CrossFit athletes would live here, for example, or powerlifting athletes would live here, and if there is a deficit there, then those athletes are going to be considered as weak and needing strength-based programming or power-based programming or speed-based programming. And then the clinicians in the room that might not have a thorough understanding of this spectrum will look at problems from a health point of view and say, this person is in pain and it's great that we need to move them from being in pain to not being in pain anymore. But then they also have a little bit of a lacking in progressing someone through the mobility requirements and motor control requirements that are context specific for potentially that athletic area or field. So if we're talking about shot put, for example, have you got the requisite amount of mobility for the organism, and then have you got the requisite amount of mobility and motor control for that organism in that context-driven environment? And that's where we want to bridge the gap between these two fields and have an upskill across this entire spectrum, so that a coach understands not only this aspect and how important it is for the athlete to develop, but also anything that's underpinning that and could potentially be holding that athlete back from expressing these without needlessly putting someone through a 6 to 8 week strength-based program when there's motor control, mobility or ill health present. And inversely, the clinician that may just want to keep promoting better health and better quality of movement and motor control doesn't quite know how to bridge the gap between the movement motor control and back into that strength or speed or endurance or power development aspect of the athlete's program. So I guess that's the fundamental thing that's missing, is the conversation between the two sides of the same coin. And that's what this spectrum, we hope, will alleviate a lot of that confusion.
And how do we arrive at the right entry point for the athlete that's in front of us?
Via our screening.
Yeah.
So we go through the FMS system, which has the ability to screen an individual's baseline movement competency, which is in here, function. If they're in pain, then we address that by taking them back a step to the health aspect, which is the SFMA. And if they're not in pain and they can show us a modicum of function, but we want to see what they can use with that function to explore more objective baseline criteria, we can progress them into the functional capacity screen, which is a performance testing, if you will, at a whole sort of battery of tests.
So even though we have training in different areas, we're approaching the individual with the same lens, and that is, are you healthy? Do you function? And if you do, show me what you got. And we do that order because if you see, as Cam was saying, a deficit in the strength endurance and strength and power endurance end, or the strength and the power end, if you see that deficit, how do you know that that's a performance problem? Or is it a health problem that's being magnified when you challenge it at a high load? So irrespective of their own subjective life experience and subjective professional experience, we arrive for the athlete at exactly the same point based on an objective pathway. And that helps our athletes be protected against our own wants. What we want is what they need. So, complex. Sport's pretty complex. Athletic performance, tactical performance is quite complex. But they all require only 3 elements, which is high quality movement against high force for a long period of time. And those 3 things manifest themselves at different levels of performance. Good job. Good job.